You know, in the world of hacking, some stories are just so wild they sound like they're straight out of a movie. But today, we're not looking at a Hollywood script. We're diving into the real-life document that brought down one of the most notorious hackers of his time. This right here, this is the official charging paper filed by the U.S. Attorney, and it lays out, in painstaking legal detail, the entire story of one of the most influential and feared hackers of the early 2010s. So, at the center of this whole legal storm, you've got one person, and in the eyes of the court, he's identified simply as the defendant, Hector Xavier Monsegur. But that is not the name the world knew him by. Online, in the shadowy corners of the internet where he operated, everyone knew him as Sabu. So, what made Sabu such a big deal? Why was he so influential? Well, to understand that, we can actually look right here at what the court document says about his specific role in the hacking world. The government officially identifies him as a rooter. And I want you to notice how precise that language is. He wasn't just some guy launching brute force attacks. His job was to find the crack in the armor, right? The digital unlocked window that everyone else could then climb through. He was the Safecracker. The way the prosecution lays it all out, his story really unfolds in 3 distinct acts. And the first act begins with his involvement in that sprawling, chaotic collective we all know as Anonymous. Now, a key weapon in their arsenal was the denial of service attack, or DDoS. Think of it like a digital mob creating a traffic jam. You get thousands of computers to bombard a website all at once with so much bogus traffic that it just collapses under the weight. And just look at the sheer pace and global scale here. This wasn't a slow burn. It was an explosion. In December of 2010, you've got Operation Payback, hitting financial giants like Visa and Mastercard for cutting off donations to Wikileaks. Just 1 month later, bam, they're hacking the Tunisian government during the Arab Spring. And right after that, they're hitting Algeria, finding weak spots in Yemen and Zimbabwe. This was politically motivated hacking, and it was escalating fast. Okay, so this brings us to the second act of our story. Sabu's skills start getting him noticed, and he gets an invitation to join a much more exclusive and, frankly, a much more dangerous circle. This group, Internet Feds, was described as a crew of elite hackers who were affiliated with Anonymous, but their focus was different. It shifted away from these broad political statements to more surgical, targeted strikes against specific companies and governments. And the targets they chose? Absolutely audacious. I mean, they went after HB Gary, a private cybersecurity firm. That's a huge statement. They hit major media companies like Fox and the Tribune Company. They were basically proving that absolutely no one was off limits. And this slide really shows you the kind of stuff they were after. It wasn't just about crashing websites anymore. The court filing specifically mentions that during the hack of Fox, they stole confidential information, including data on contestants from the TV show X Factor. All of this leads us to the third and easily the most notorious act, the formation of LulzSec. This was a group that would go on a relentless, headline-grabbing hacking spree that nobody would forget. And their motivation? It's right there in the name, lulz. It's internet slang for laughs. They weren't really hacking for a political cause anymore. They were hacking for the sheer, chaotic amusement of it all. They did it for the lulz. For 50 days straight, they were a complete whirlwind of chaos. I mean, just look at this victim list pulled straight from the court document. It's staggering. You have global giants like Sony and Nintendo, media outlets like PBS, video game companies. They even hit the United States Senate. And then, in just an act of pure, unbelievable audacity, they went after InfraGard, an organization that's literally affiliated with the FBI. And this right here, this perfectly captures their style. It was provocative and just completely absurd. During the PBS hack, they didn't just steal data. They inserted a fake news story claiming that the deceased rapper Tupac Shakur was alive and well, living in New Zealand. It was pure mockery, designed to get a laugh and mess with people's heads. But the lulz weren't going to last forever. The final pages of the document pivot hard. The narrative stops, and the consequences begin. This is the reckoning. The charges are laid out systematically. Count 1 covers his time with Anonymous for conspiring to hack those financial companies in retaliation for the Wikileaks situation. Count 2 focuses on that more targeted corporate espionage with Internet Feds, the attacks on HB Gary, Fox, and all the others.
And finally, count 3 is for that chaotic 50-day spree with LulzSec, covering the attacks on Sony, the US Senate, and all the rest. We're talking 3 separate conspiracy charges, each one carrying serious federal weight.
Now, buried deep in the legalese for each and every one of these counts is this critical phrase. To make it a federal crime under this specific law, the prosecution had to allege that the damage caused by the hacks was at least $5,000. It's a reminder that no matter what the motivation was, whether it was politics or just for laughs, in the end, it all comes down to a number. And that's really what this entire document leaves us with. It traces this whole path, from what started as politically motivated protest all the way to pure digital mayhem. And it forces us to ask, where is the line? At what point does a digital sit-in and Operation Payback cross over into a multi-count federal indictment? This document doesn't just tell one hacker's story. It maps the very ground where that line gets drawn.